Is everybody there? Everybody there? Hi, everyone. Right, let's do the news because stuff is happening in Yemen. Hi, everyone. Jimbo Jones. There are two types of people in the world: those who want to know and those who want to believe. Friedrich Nietzsche. Gordon's the former. That's very kind of you to say. Nietzsche did spend the last part of his life in a mental institution suffering from syphilis, though, so let's not put too much weight into what Nietzsche said. What I want to talk about is the same as I talked about last time I was live, and that is Yemen, because what's going on over there in Yemen at the moment is a humanitarian crisis, the largest humanitarian crisis on the planet. There are roughly 10,000 people killed so far. 2/3 of those are civilians. 8.4 million are on the brink of famine. That's a United Nations estimate. Roughly 22 million people are close to starvation. And last year alone, 1 million people contracted cholera. And the reason I bring up the cholera angle is obviously because it's terrible, because 60% of those are going to be children. So 600,000 children contracted cholera in Yemen last year as a result of the Saudi-led coalition, which the UK and the US are backing. And what happens? About 3-4 days ago, I saw this. US-backed coalition bombs Yemen's new cholera treatment center after unleashing the world's largest outbreak. We caused the largest cholera epidemic in history and then bomb the new cholera treatment plant in Yemen. Let's just read you a bit of this article because this is just disgusting. A military coalition formerly led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and supported by the United States and Britain bombed a newly constructed cholera treatment in Yemen on Monday, June the 11th. So this is Monday this week, 4 days ago. This attack comes after Yemen, the poorest country in the Middle East, suffered through the worst cholera outbreak in recorded history, with more than 1 million cases reported in 2017 alone. The cholera treatment center was operated by the humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders, known as the French as Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF. It was located in Yemen's northwestern Hajj Governorate, an area that has been heavily bombarded by Saudi Arabia for more than 3 years. MSF said in a statement that the cholera treatment center had markings on the roof that clearly identified it as a healthcare facility. It added that the center had been destroyed and is now completely non-functional. The US-backed Saudi coalition has repeatedly bombed medical facilities in Yemen, including several operated by the MSF. The humanitarian organization tweeted photos showing the aftermath. And that's what it looked like. That was formerly a center for cholera. And that's what's happening right now. That was Monday. And then yesterday, things really started to advance. You may remember from the last time I did a live stream last week about Yemen. I said that the port city of Hodeidah was about to be taken over and all hell was going to break loose there. Well, it hasn't yet, but it looks like it's about to. Let's just quickly show you this. This is from yesterday. Forces loyal to the Yemeni government, backed by Saudi and UAE airstrikes, claimed on Thursday to have breached the first line of defences of Houthi rebels defending the strategic port of Hodeidah. The UAE claimed its operation, named Golden Victory, had reached an area within 5 miles of the airport amid reports of terrified civilians trying to flee the city. The Hodeidah deep sea port on the Red Sea is the base from which badly needed food, water and medicine is distributed to more than 8 million Yemenis, and all sides fear the fighting may result in the destruction of the port's infrastructure, either by Houthi mines or airstrikes directed by the UAE. The Houthis lost 30 people on Thursday in clashes near Hodeidah airport south of the city, medical sources told local news agencies. 9 pro-government troops were killed in the same area, the medics said. But I just want to come down. There's a little bit down here I want to talk about. No, it's on the next page. So the pro-government forces have breached the defences at the Yemen airport, and they were about to go in, and this was yesterday. Now, what has happened today is it's a joke, to be quite honest, because this is from the Middle East Monitor. United Nations Security Council calls for Yemen port to remain open. The UN Security Council on Thursday demanded an urgent halt to the Saudi and United Arab Emirates-led offensive in the Yemeni port city of Hodeidah, calling for the port to be kept open for humanitarian assistance. The emergency closed-door meeting was requested by the UK. So the UK have requested that the port is kept open under every circumstance. That's what they've suggested. Okay, now that's fine, isn't it? That's fine. But then we come to this. United Nations reject plan to demand immediate ceasefire in Yemen port. Right. So the UK have asked the United Nations, they've tabled a motion to keep the port open. And it looks like that's passed, although I haven't had confirmation of it. And then at the same time, if we go back to the article, I think it was Sweden that tabled this motion. The United Nations rejects plan to demand an immediate ceasefire at the Yemeni port. So Yemeni pro-government forces have closed in on rebel-held airport as they pressed ahead with a sweeping offensive on a key Red Sea port city of Hodeidah, despite warnings from aid agencies that the attack could jeopardize vital aid supplies to a country on the brink of famine. You think? The swift advance was an important early success for the Saudi-led coalition, which launched the operation in Hodeidah 3 days ago and says it can seize the city quickly enough to avoid interrupting flows of aid to millions facing starvation. Coalition warplanes bombed Houthi rebel positions on Friday, while rebels said in an official statement that they fired a ballistic missile on fighters gathering but have no reports on casualties. This is the bit I want to talk about. The advance came after the UN Security Council rejected a move to demand an immediate end to the fighting around the strategic port. The 15-strong body failed to agree to a statement calling on forces led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates to implement a ceasefire, with the United States and United Kingdom both voicing opposition to the text introduced by Sweden. So the United Kingdom have tabled a motion yesterday and had a Security Council meeting to say we need to keep this port open, and then Sweden have said, okay, can we have a ceasefire? And the United Kingdom and the United States have said, no, we can't have a ceasefire. And that is what's going on over there right at this very moment. Why does this piss me off? I'm sure you all know by now. This is why. This is licenses to Saudi Arabia for weapons from the UK last year, £1.1 billion last year. And also, I did have another one. I did have another slide set up, but looks like that's gone now. Let's try and find it. There you go. 4.7 billion in the last 3 years. So that is since the troubles began in 2015, since the president was ousted and the Saudis started bombing Yemen, we have supplied £4.7 billion of weapons to Saudi Arabia. United States, way more, obviously. Now, this article that was in The Guardian goes on to say further down, but Here's the port. That's where the forces are. This is obviously the main port. 80% of all the food and all the medical supplies goes through that support. 80% of all the food and medical supplies for the entire country of Yemen. Roughly 8 million people are going to be affected if there is any hold up there. And this is 2 hours ago from the BBC. Government forces are not attacking Hodeidah port. Yemen's government has said that it will not attack a port crucial to aid efforts in the country as its forces advance on the rebel city of Hodeidah. So what has happened there is the United Kingdom have said, right, okay, we need to table a motion to keep the port open under any circumstances, but we're not going to stop killing people because Sweden wanted to do that and we vetoed it. No, 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 no. We're still going to bomb them. We're just not going to bomb the port. And then the Yemenis are the ones who said they're actually not going to back off from the part. The Yemenis are the ones that are holding back. The Saudis are pushing forward. And the Yemenis are the ones that are holding back because they know any fight in that port is obviously going to crucify their infrastructure and their country and the people and the civilians. We don't care. We've gone forward with it. But hey, Michael Cohen's going, the Manafort's going to prison. That'll be on top of them at the moment, or what they're all going to be speaking about. And then finally, Trump administration is pulling the United States out of the United Nations Human Rights Council, report says. The US Ambassador Nikki Haley said last year that the group, I'm sure that means wasn't or has a chronic anti-Israel basis. So how hypocritical is it? How hypocritical is it that they defend Israel against the war crimes in Gaza and Palestine, and then totally turn a blind eye, or rather, it's just, and we're just selling them weapons all over the place. And here's Boris Johnson on Twitter. It is imperative that all parties in Yemen respect international humanitarian law and prioritise the protection of civilians. UK will continue to work with the OSCE Yemen on a political settlement for the people of Yemen. I've got a better idea, Boris Johnson. Get the fuck out of their country and start selling weapons to a country that is dropping bombs on weddings and funerals. How about that? How about we just stop selling the weapons? How about we stop refueling the planes? How about we stop giving them the intelligence? How about we get the hell out of messes like that are nothing to do with us? We are creating all of these immigrants from the Middle East and Northern Africa. They are flooding into Europe, and then we're blaming the immigrants because we're dropping bombs on their countries. How backwards is that? How backwards is it? We're causing these people to flood into Europe by bombing their countries and having them in absolute humanitarian crisis. And then they're coming into Europe and now they're being blamed for everything that's wrong in Europe. We are causing this. The United Kingdom, the United States, we are causing it. We are not settling anything. We are causing this crisis for money. So the military-industrial complex rolls on. That's the only reason. Has there ever been any intervention in the Middle East that has gone well? Ever? You go back 75 years, everything that is wrong with the Middle East is our fucking fault. Everything. Yet we are still over there. We are still selling Saudi Arabia, dropping bombs on the poorest country in the Middle East, committing war crimes, and we turn a blind eye. Yet if it happened in the Ukraine or if it happened in Syria, we'd be screaming humanitarian crisis and human rights and going in there to bomb them ourselves. We are hypocrites, absolute hypocrites. Okay, I wasn't going to make this video long. I'll take some, let's have a look, see who's here. Let's just pop this chat out. Ooh. Hi, everyone. How are you all? I'm hoping everything is gone okay with that, with this live stream. Great chat with Jamal Thomas, says Learned Hand. Thanks, Learned. Jamal Thomas is awesome. He just is. He's an absolutely awesome guy. I'm so happy that he asked me to bring him. He asked to bring me on. He was talking about Brexit and said it was nonsensical, and to a certain degree, he was right. But I just wanted to say, no, Labour are not pushing for the the Norway style arrangement with the EEA. Their motion was literally just to say, can we have some sort of promise that we're going to try and get tariff-free access to the customs union? And that was obviously told no. Yemen is something we do not talk about in the US. Thank you, Gordon. Digital tyranny. This is why I do it. This is why I keep talking about Yemen and I keep talking about Gaza, because they're just absolutely they're awful in the way that they, redirect and refocus attention elsewhere. Anything to not talk about the crimes that we are supporting these crimes. Leonard Hand. In the meantime, the US has recently announced that they will be withdrawing from the United Nations Human Rights Council. Yeah, as I just said, I don't know what the ramifications of that are going to be. Does that mean that we're going to actually be able to get something through and be able to put some sort of sanctions and have an actual conversation about Israel instead of the US stopping us? I don't know what the law is, whether they still retain veto rights or not. I don't know. I don't think so. Careful, Gordon. Don't want to be breaching the peace now. Yeah, I'm sorry, chicken. Sorry, chicken. This has just skipped on me all the way down to the bottom. Thoughts on England's chances in the World Cup, Scott Rayner? I'll get to the quarterfinals if that. It's pretty much. I used to love football. I used to be a big, passionate football fan until probably about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I just fell out of love with the game because of all the play acting and the cheating. But I've went through my whole life having expectations of England or having no expectations of England, and either way, they always underperform. Gordon, what kind of weed do you smoke? Green stuff. Green stuff. It depends. It depends. I can't remember which way it is around now. I think it's sativa when I want to go to sleep and an indica when it's during the daytime. But I don't actually smoke that much of it, to be honest. It's only 2 or 3 times an hour. No, it's only 2 or 3 times a month, something like that. Just I use it rather than drink now because I just can't. I can't handle the hangover. Gun Dimmock. All the while, Prime Minister of UAE literally kidnapped his own daughter while we looked on her. Literally kidnapped his own daughter. Literally kidnapped her. It was just, and we don't say a thing about it. Just not a thing. Tommy Knocker, I'm not trying to be a smart ass here, but the all around the world things are atrocious, and we need real answers to these war corporate crimes. In my opinion, the entire world needs a reset button. I just wish people would look for peace rather than war. I really do. War should be the absolute last resort. I am pro peace, I am anti war, but I do realise that there are times when it's inevitable. You have to get involved with things like World War II. You've got to stop. That you had to get involved then. I wouldn't be anti-war then. I would be actually, yeah, let's go and get the bastard. But since then, it's just been number one option rather than the last resort. It really has. I heard Lindsey Graham the other day was saying that he wants to put an authorization for use of military force on the books and get that done just in case the North Korean peace process doesn't work out. And what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Fortunately, Rand Paul went on CNN and just ripped him a new one. But that's the sort of people you've got in Washington. That's the sort of people you've got in Westminster. People who, um, you know, just don't base anything in fact or logic. There was a guy, I read this just before coming on air, so I've probably still got the thing up. Recently closed tabs. No, I haven't. It was from the Huffington Post. Show all history. I'm sure I've got it somewhere. There we go. There you go. Take a look at this. Oops. California DNC member suggests superdelegate reform is part of a Russian plot. They're on a different planet, these people are. This is Bob Mulholland. And he's basically said that the reforms going through, or that they're talking about, to reduce the number of superdelegates in the DNC by 60%. That's the proposal. And this guy is actually saying that it's part of a Russian plot. I'm not kidding. Boris Johnson doesn't seem to realise that the OPCW, for instance, are there just to prove whether a chemical attack took place. They're not there to assign blame at all, but he's been tweeting all day about that. Now, whether something's changed, I don't know, and whether the OPCW are now allowed to assign blame when they're investigating things, I don't know. But if not, then Boris Johnson's talking absolute rubbish as usual as well. Rand Paul, covert white rabbit. Rand Paul said Graham was a threat to the human race. He's not wrong. You're dead right. He's worrying, that Rand Paul. He really is. Why is there no super chat option? Says a chicken. I'm sure somebody's answered that. As usual, Nikki. Gordon isn't monetized yet. They said I would be monetized the beginning of February. The beginning of February came. They said it's going to be delayed 2 weeks. The end of February came. They said it was going to be the end of April. The end of April came and they said it was going to be the end of June. So sometime within the next 2 weeks, I'm expecting an email from them to say it's going to be the end of 2018. It's why I don't do this full time. I've had to, it's been 5 days since I've done a video. I've had to work this week. I've had to do other work. I can't, I wish I could do more, have more time for videos, but I've had to make money to pay the bills, and I've paid the bills for the rest of the month, and now it's okay. I can carry on making videos, but that's basically the situation. If YouTube monetized me, I could do it all month round. Digital tyranny. Politics is the new religion. I'm hoping that politics, people are starting to take more notice of politics. They're starting to realise that politics is something that everybody should be involved in, because everything is politics. Everything. And we should be involved in politics. I grew up in a house that you don't talk about politics. Don't talk about politics. Why? Because it creates arguments. No, it creates debate. That's what it does. It creates conversation. Nikki M, what do you think of the upskirting bill being scuppered? The reason he has scuppered that, I read, was because it was one of those rules that they tried to put through. There was like about 15 people in the House of Commons or something like that, and he's the guy that checks everything just to make sure that it's all above board and there's nothing in there and it looks like he didn't have a chance to look at it. But so on the face of it, it looks terrible, and him being a Tory, it probably is. But he did have an excuse. It was a lame excuse. We'll see if it passes in the next few weeks. It doesn't mean it's scuppered, but it will come for another vote very soon. It's just got to be checked, and the wording's got to be checked just to make sure that there's nothing in there that can be misconstrued or um, clashes with something else and creates confusion. That's the way I looked at it anyway when I saw it. 2019, if you're lucky at this rate, I'm assuming Tommy means 2019. I'm assuming that means monetization. I'm literally, I'm not even thinking about it, to be honest. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. How much do you need for bills each month? These England are expensive. Yeah, is it expensive? Yes, yes, it's expensive. But then we've got healthcare. So, you know, America's very cheap, but half your wages go on healthcare. So, what's the point of your country being cheap if you're wasting all that money on? Well, it's not healthcare; it's health insurance. Let's face it. What are your thoughts on Stephen Chowder? I can never remember which one that is. Do you mean Crowder? I'm not 100% of who you're. I'm not 100%. I think he's the right guy, the right wing guy that does a load of stuff with regards to LGBT and Antifa and showing up the left. He's a bit of an idiot if that's the guy I'm thinking of. I saw him on Joe Rogan once, and he really did. He was running around in circles. I was ringing. This is Leonard Hand. I was reading about the Pimlico plumbing gig economy bullshit that's starting in the UK. Beware of being hired as a contractor instead of an employee. It's a scam economy. I saw a documentary on that guy. He's the guy with the blonde hair, isn't he? The guy with the blonde coiffured hair. And he started Pimlico plumbing a while ago, and I saw a documentary of him. It must be going about 5 or 6 years now, and I sat there thinking, this guy's a crook. He's a criminal. He's a crook and he's a criminal. 5 years later, it comes out that, hey, looks like he is. Digital Timmy, does liking vids actually help the channel? Yes, massively. The algorithm used to be based on YouTube's algorithm used to be based on average time, average viewer time. So if you got an average viewership of over 50% of your video watch, that bumped it up. And then it was likes versus dislikes, and they've changed the algorithm now, so length of time viewed is not such a big contributor, but the amount of likes versus the amount of dislikes is, which is really bad for videos about Israel and Yemen, for instance, especially Israel, because when you actually tell the truth about Israel, along comes a load of pro-Israelis and downvote your video, and that's the way they're doing it. But I mean, whether YouTube have designed it that way, I don't know. The HuffPost article is so funny. It really is. It's hilarious. It really is. Brandon Cartonati, Russia is just a convenient distraction. It's more than that. There's nothing convenient about it. It was invented. It's only convenient because they made it that way. More like a ton of bots coming along to downvote. Yeah, you're right, Tommy. You're right. Okay, we're going to be going in about half an hour. I'm down at the bottom now. Venom, unfortunately, I can't be watching this right now, but I hope you put it up later. It'll just stop on the channel. I'll add a card to it. That's all I'll do. I'll just add a card to it. It'll be up as soon as this stream is finished. All right, guys. That's what's going on in Yemen anyway. Shout and scream about it. Talk to everybody about it. Tell them that we're supplying them with the weapons that's causing the largest humanitarian crisis on the planet. And then when Sweden ask, "Hey, shall we have a ceasefire?" the United Nations and the United Kingdom put the kibosh on it. We have literally we are standing in the way of a ceasefire right now. The United Kingdom and the United Nations, the United States rather. It's great, isn't it? All right, I'll hopefully now I've got everything sorted for the month, I can get back to making videos. So hopefully you'll see 5 or 6 over the weekend. And some good news, I am going to do a live stream on Sunday. I'm going to try and do one every Sunday, which was the original plan. So I'm going to do a long live stream on Sunday, and I'll update with some videos throughout the weekend as well. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support as well. I couldn't do this without you. Really, it's amazing hearing, even a small text just saying thank you very much. It's just awesome. It really is. You've got no idea the amount of the boost it gives me. So thanks very much for support, and I'll see you over the weekend. Peace.